Welcome back. This is Sunday edition here on KTN News. President Uhuru Kenyatta, while on a tour of Namibia, did lash out at three of his cabinet secretaries for what he called not being serious, for not taking notes. He lashed out at his agriculture cabinet secretary, Kiunjuri, his Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, that is Monica Juma, and the Trade and Industrialization CS, Peter Munya, saying they were not taking notes, just looking at him, and he had to remember everything. He also lashed out at his PA, Juma. Let's listen in.
I'm looking now. My brother Kiunjuri has just opened his notepad to write what I'm saying. But he was not interested in writing what these Kenyans are saying because maybe it had nothing to do with agriculture. But he forgets he is a minister of the Republic of Kenya. And whatever that is said, he should be interested to know. What is it that these people are telling us?
So that was the president saying that these cabinet secretaries are just staring. They're not even taking notes of what Kenyans in the diaspora in Namibia, were saying. Let me begin with you, Kipchumba. What do you think about that?
As a Kenyan and a national ID carrying Kenyan, it was shameful. We cannot export our political activism to another country. You will expect that when visitors come to your home, they will not be arguing about who drank the soup in their home when they are at your home. When you are a good mannerism, demand that a visitor does something in another order. Yes, in Kenya we are used to those lectures, but when we go to a country like Namibia, which we are like its big brother, we are expected to act in a certain manner. And I think that whereas we can allow the president to be lecturing these people, he has the pen to hire and fire them. Why will it that it will be more? Uhuru Kenyatta cannot have a legacy of only lecturing Kiunjuri from day one of his second term to the last day. Who is Kiunjuri who cannot be fired? You cannot accompany a president and go there and sit like a tree. You need to be doing something. If, for heaven's sake, the ministers are hard to fire, why don't he fire the PA? You cannot have a PA who is clueless sitting somewhere and watching his watch. What is he doing? So I think, one, the president must be decisive, and he must know that he has to leave a legacy. 50 years to come from now, we'll be talking about the Uhuru Kenyatta presidency. The same way we discussed the Kibaki, Moi, and the Kenyatta one presidency, we will be discussing him and we'll say, we had a president who used to complain a lot and do nothing. It is now that the president must move from the good English and the speeches to the good action, whereby when I say Ben Kitili, you should be taking notes. When we come here, you will not be a minister. There was a time Moi fired somebody while in South Africa. We need a president who he walks, talks, president.
So should you go back to that?
Yes.
Husband, what do you think?
Well, I think there are two things that come to the fore. One, I think it doesn't bode well with his position to scold his cabinet secretaries in public because he's the chief appointing authority. So it speaks so much about his ability to get the right people in the office. So that's the first thing. But I think, secondly, it's also important that the president makes some things clear. Where he makes those things clear now is his choice. It's only that he's making the wrong choice to do that. But you cannot have cabinet secretaries, just like you were saying. They move from one country to another country, and what Kenyans in those countries are raising are the same things. It simply means that someone didn't do his job, that while they were addressing the president, the work of the president is to attend to the people who are talking to him. The work of the people around him is to get the issues that they are raising. And the fact that they've been moving from France to Britain to another country, like you were saying, and those problems keep emerging, means that there are a number of people who are not doing their work. And I think it is only within the president's domain to admonish these cabinet secretaries. We may disagree with the choice of doing that in public, but at least we need to ask ourselves, have we had a situation where our ministers have, covered themselves in glory as servants of this country? No, I think majority of them walk with their heads in the cloud. They have a taller-than-life attitude, sometimes very condescending. They don't attend to issues that are being raised by individuals. And the easiest way to show that you are active in the way you're listening to something is by taking note. so that when you sit down, you can act on these things. And some of these things that we've been complaining, I mean, the Italians came here and took a lot of money, and we're asking ourselves, where were we? How comes that we didn't look at the nitty-gritties of the company that was submitting, that was tendering to do the dams? Chances are the ministers were simply not taking notes.
All right. Mark, a lot of Kenyans have been comparing the style, the new style of the president to the Tanzanian president, John Pombe Magufuli's style, where we see a lot of, theatrics on camera, him going to people on construction sites, firing contractors on the site. Is it the same thing?
Well, it is styled after John Pombe Magufuli, definitely. You can see a lot of comparison. In fact, recently, you remember the president touring the roads. Now, the roads that are under construction.
Yes.
Now, what doesn't work well for Kenya is our president seems as shocked as us about the facts of his own country. That's what shocks me. Because I'm just trying to imagine, in fact, I was sitting to myself, that my staff who work in my office, if we went to a meeting and they were not taking notes, they know they will not have a job that same day. If I have to go to 2 meetings with a client and they do not have the information the client expected, they know they would not have a job. And I'm a very small man in this country. Now, then I am speechless. I do not know what to tell my president, except this. There was a minister who told Kenyans to go to hell. Mr. President, when you didn't fire that minister, you told us to go to hell as well. Because your inaction was basically an agreement to that statement. You agreed to the statement that Najib Balala reports to you and to you only. And the rest of us can take the shortest route to the nearest hell we can find. Silence means consent, Mr. President. But beyond that, the fact that you complain and you tolerate the same behavior, it is not once or twice, Mr. President. When we've seen pictures of delegations, the Kenyan delegation on one side, the American delegation on the other, the Kenyan delegation on one side, Chinese delegation on one side, we almost thought there is a problem with supplies of pen and papers on the Kenyan delegation. The tables are always empty. In fact, if you find anything on the table, it is the distended stomach of those who occupy office around you. My brother, Mr. President, you have tolerated this thing for too long. What you are showing us is this is who you are. Let me tell you, Kiunjuri is no longer a minister of agriculture. He is an extension of your will and your mind in terms of agriculture. The minister of devolution is an extension of your will and mind in terms of devolution. Mr. President, I will tell you, stop pointing the finger at Kiunjuri, at Najib Balala, at Sicily Kariuki. Please point it at yourself, because they're expressing what you've allowed them to express. I will give you a final statement. There was a great prophet, he was called Samuel, and God considered him so important that he said he never let a single word of Samuel fall to the ground. But God judged Samuel for a very simple thing. He said that Samuel did not restrain his sons. Let me tell you, Mr. President, you may consider yourself innocent, but this country, our God and its people will not hold you innocent for the actions of your sons under your watch.
All right. I hope we will be watching and listening.
You should hear an amen.
Dismas. The president has been issuing a lot of threats and a lot of warnings. I mean, we are almost tired talking about them. A lot of Kenyans asking, why isn't he the appointing authority? Why not just fire the ministers that are not performing or not, up to his standards?
Well, I did not realize that President Kenyatta is Mark Bichache's brother till you mentioned right now.
You are also my brother.
Yeah, okay. but coming to specifically looking at the president and his utterances in Vinok, the quality of the people who represent Kenya in international meetings has always been in question. There's been doubts. When you receive a call and you are told you're going to be part of the president's delegation, do you actually ask yourself, why are you in that delegation? Or is it an opportunity for you to go and have a single malt whiskey and a pepper steak and collect some per diems? It's very, very embarrassing that every single meeting the president has ever attended, from the time he became president of the Republic of Kenya, not a single person in his delegation has got a notebook or is interested in what is happening. They go there. On the other side, at the White House, Donald Trump and his secretaries, all of them have got notebooks and pens. But on this other side, our ministers are merely yawning. So you don't know whether they're yawning because they haven't taken food or they've had so much food. Those are the questions now we keep on asking ourselves.
So you see where the president is coming from?
Well, we see where the president is coming from, and I'd like to take a departure from what the other panelists have said. The president was in Vinoek. He was addressing Kenyans in a room. So for all intents and purposes, the president was in Kenya. He was addressing his voters. Maybe they did not vote, but he was addressing Kenyans. So those are our taxpayers. And the president can express his displeasure wherever he wants. But outside that, he now needs to take it to the next level. Maybe the question you want to ask yourself, if it were President Moi in that situation, what would have happened? And in my expectation, the president should have actually left those 3 cabinet ministers in South Africa and his PA, and come alone, because they were really wasting time. And it also confirms this condescending attitude we have from all cabinet secretaries, because as far as they're concerned, the only person they pay attention to is President Uhuru Kenyatta. When he's speaking, then they pretend to take notes. We should even zoom in to actually find whether or not Kiunjuri was taking notes, or he just pulled a notebook and a pen. They are very arrogant. Most of these cabinet secretaries are very arrogant. They do not know that the president has given them a delegated authority to serve Kenyans. So when those Kenyans in South Africa, or rather Namibia, are complaining maybe about Huduma numbers, they're not getting their passports in good time, those cabinet secretaries are just seated looking at the expensive chronometers. And only when the president is speaking is when they pull out their notes. So that's the kind of condescending attitude that the president should run away from. And I keep on telling him, let me use your terms as my brother, that his legacy is going to be corruption unless he acts today. Right now we discuss President Kibaki fondly. When you're on a Thika Road, when you talk about infrastructure, you remember President Kibaki. When you're talking about human resources in Kenya, you remember President Moi. If President Kenyatta is not careful, his name is going to be associated with corruption. If President Kenyatta is not careful, at some stage when you do a Google search, you put in President Kenyatta, you may end up coming with a failure to fight corruption in Kenya. He's got this unique opportunity today to fire the entire cabinet. Or if he cannot do that, ask Kinyua to call cabinet secretaries and demand for resignation letters. And then he'll have the opportunity of maintaining the 5 cabinet secretaries who are working, and he kicks out the rest. But if he doesn't do that, Morai in Kisii is wondering that you've gone to Vinoek, you're complaining about corruption. So what is Morai supposed to be doing in Kisii? Acting in solidarity with the president. Morai expects that the appointing authority fires these people. I told you I was in the countryside a few days ago, and the people missed the KBC bulletin at 1 o'clock, where non-performing cabinet secretaries are fired. For me, I would be so excited that these cabinet ministers were in fact left in Namibia, or when they're in Nairobi having lunch at these upmarket hotels.
For not taking notes.
Yeah, not even just for taking notes, just for incompetence. The question now you must ask yourself is, the president, we are told, has no political debts. He has no political enemies. He has no political friends. Nobody is holding him hostage. Why can't he just, firing a cabinet, in my view, is the easiest thing. Another executive order, provided this time it doesn't go through Twitter. He just does something very basic and very solid, so that Kenyans can breathe afresh.
So as you answer that, Mark, so why can't the president fire ministers who he thinks are not performing? Is it that his hands are tied in some way, or is it that according to what he expects of them, they are maybe meeting his expectations?
There's a term that our civil service, and indeed our president, needs to be familiarize himself with. It's called courage. Okay? It's the courage to say and do what needs to be done. What is lacking in this country is courage. You see, there is the theory, the working theory, that the president is unable to hire new CSs because parliament is hostile. So he will appoint CSs and then he will be stuck without a cabinet. I will remind him that Kenya was without a vice president for many months, almost going to a year, if I remember correctly.
It was 9 months.
It was 9 months. And Kenya didn't ban, by the way. And Moi used to leave this country vice presidentless. And we survived. Let me tell you, I don't understand how important it is. In fact, according to the kind of country we have and the kind of constitution, the main person we need is a permanent secretary. So I do not understand why we are scared of being CS-less. Number two, I do not understand, like Kipchumba said, why we keep fighting ghosts. Okay, if you are a man in this country and you have a problem with Kipchumba, you say, my dear friend Kipchumba, I'm going to meet you jioni. In fact, even in primary school, tuko tunasema nitafunga na wewe. How is it that now we've grown up and when we say political allies, we have to delete a whole Twitter account? You have to edit a whole video just because you said political. How scared are you? 47 cars in your motorcade. How many rounds of ammunition? And you're still scared because of a tweet. Let me tell you, this country needs a lot of courage. Who are you scared about? Your deputy? Or is it Raila Odinga? Why are you so scared? Why would you threaten Kiunjuri every day? Fire the guy. What is this cowardice about? I don't understand. Is the president of this country, or is he manipulated by the interests of people in cabinet? That's so that now Kiunjuri has this mystical hold on our president that he's unfireable. I do not understand. The president, please learn. This Boniface Mwangi has this hashtag, Team Courage. Please join it.
So the president is scared.
Yes.
Husband Owila, what is the solution?
Well, I think for me the biggest issue is we lack clarity of what the vision bearer has. And the vision bearer in this country is the president. That if he has a vision for this country and he has articulated it in the Big Four agenda, he only needs people who can articulate this vision and help him realize this vision. And of course, he doesn't have time on his side.
All right.
And therefore, complaining repeatedly does not help him. It has become clear that the president is not going to sack any cabinet secretary anytime soon. He might not even sack anyone. Why can't he just sit down, have a clear strategy, let them understand the vision, so much so that if there is anyone who feels that they are not part and parcel of where the president is going, they tender their resignation, like Dismas is saying. And then the second option is there are a number of cabinet secretaries who are doing, fantabulous jobs. What they need to do as a matter of urgency is to find out, as a collective, as a collective entity, as the cabinet, are we headed in the direction that the president wants us to go? Because that is the interest of Kenyans, whatever the president has articulated. So this that are thinking that they're headed in the right direction, and they have others who keep popping in corruption scandals, who keep getting admonished by the president, they have a moral responsibility of giving the president the easiest of tasks by resigning. And if they resign, then the president will have a clear opportunity to bring on board people without any political interference, people who can share his vision. Then secondly, if at all, because I might be speaking out of ignorance, if at all the president has a clear vision and where he's taking this country, he needs to tone down on speaking in the media and having his cabinet secretary speak in the media as though they have no clarity of where they are taking this country. And I think that is what they can do. There is another level of what Kenyans can do. I think it is about time Kenyans realize that this has nothing to do with who is in cabinet. This has nothing to do with what the president is doing. This has a lot to do with how we vote. This has a lot to do with how the political class has repeatedly lied to Kenyans. The politics of deceit must come to an end. The Jubilee government promised Kenyans no hunger, no drought, will find measures to mitigate drought, no famine. Kenyans are dying. I think the conversation that we need to have going forward is, to what extent can we use this experience to hold the political class responsible on not just telling us what they will do to make our lives better, but to start articulating how. Because we have clips of the deputy president, the president, telling us what they were going to do. And those were beautiful things. But right now, we have clips of the same people who say that they had put aside money. That money is now lost. And then we are realizing the things that they were supposed to sort are actually the problems that we are facing now.
Kipchumba, have a final say on this as we talk about the backstop. British people are talking about the backstop on Brexit, but here the backstop is the president on a lot of what you are saying. But do the cabinet secretaries also have, a role to play? Is it time also some of them, many of them, take responsibility?
Ben, when you read all constitutions worldwide, when you elect a president, a prime minister, or whatever you will call it, even the chief, or which title you give them, it is assumed or it is presumed that this person will not be omnipresent. He will appoint Bichachi, Dismas, to help him, because Dismas will come with the financial knowledge. He will be the finance minister. Bichachi will come with the engineering knowledge. He will be the roads minister. This gentleman will come with the good knowledge of communication. He will be the communication and ICT. It is assumed that as the president or the prime minister or the head of state and government does that, it does that with the full knowledge that these people will share in my vision. If you appoint somebody who does not share in your vision, it is incumbent upon the appointing authority to disappoint those people and give the work to the other people. Because what any other Kenyan or any independent and any right-thinking Kenyan will think is that Uhuru Kenyatta is incapable of discharging his function. And just to add to the list of whatever Hezbon was discussing about, we have also even an option of dissolving government when the people who are in that government feel like they are no longer clear about the vision they have for the country. It is not a bad thing. It has happened in around 5 countries in the last 1 week. If Uhuru Kenyatta feels that wherever we are in a position where we cannot move forward as a country, the best thing he can do as a Democrat, which I believe he is to just come and ask Muturi, the Speaker of Parliament, that I have dissolved my government. Take time and run the show for 90 days as we come up with other measures. Because where we are now, nobody knows, and we cannot leave the country at the margins of prayer and sport pesa. We have to have a country that is at the margin of other things. The other thing which maybe we need to contextualize is this. When the country becomes like nobody knows where we are, we need to ask ourselves a question. Don't we have key performance indicators in cabinet that if we are doing this, we are in the right track? What else is this that we must do? And then again, the question that we must ask, and we have continually enumerated in this panel, is the question of political corruption is best fought at the ballot. If we have to have good leaders, we cannot have them germinate after being sworn in. We have to fight them at the ballot.
So by saying this, you say that we can only fight corruption after every 5 years?
No. Corruption must be fought in stages. There is corporate corruption that must be fought in a different manner. But what the country is suffering is lack of leadership. It's not that there is corruption that emanates from anywhere. Our leaders are the face of the corruption facing this country. Finally, to my point, when Moi faced a similar problem, he appointed what we call, he formed a task force of what we call there was that Dream Team. That team that had Naikuni.
Dream Team.
Yeah, the Dream Team. He appointed the Dream Team, and there were guys who came with a lot of substantive. He powered the economy for some time. When Kibaki came in and found the economy where it was, he had the Economic Council, and he came up with the Vision 2030. It pushed us to where we are. Now we have Agenda 4, the Big Four, but now it has become